Guru Das Prabhu, since you have so jauntily posted the Hare Krishna mantra in the chat, would you like to sing some kirtan for our opening this evening?
All glories to Guru Maharaj, to Jayadvaita Swami, and to the devotees. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajak Acharya Astotata Saptashi Shrimad His Divine Grace Esi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavandi Ki Jai His Confounded Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakandvitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakunda Namostute. Mm, mm. Overlap. Bhakti Devi ki jai, Yamuna Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Transcendental Prasadam Distribution ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories. Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Jai, Jai, thank you so much, Gurudas Prabhu. And welcome everyone for a Srimad Bhagavatam class with His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends. It is Friday, December 15th, 2023 in New York. And tonight we're starting with Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 26th chapter, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. I had in my notes that we had gone over or started to go over text 38. Can someone confirm that we, in fact, did discuss 38 and we're on 39? Maharaj has 38 in the chat. I just want to make sure that we're literally on the same page. It appears as though we discussed 38.
Yes, Project 38 was discussed. We need to start from 39.
Good. 39, right? Yes, okay. Thank you so much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 39. Dravya krititvam gunata vyakti samstatvam evacha tejastvam tejasa sadvi rupa matrasya vrittayaha. Lord Kapila Deva speaking. My dear mother, the characteristics of form are understood by dimension, quality, and individuality. The form of fire is appreciated by its effulgence. Purport: every form that we appreciate has its particular dimensions and characteristics. The quality of a particular object is appreciated by its utility. But the form of sound is independent. Forms which are invisible can be understood only by touch. That is the independent appreciation of invisible form. Visible forms are understood by analytical study of their constitution. The constitution of a certain object is appreciated by its internal action. For example, the form of salt is appreciated by the interaction of salty tastes, and the form of sugar is appreciated by the interaction of sweet tastes. Tastes and qualitative constitution are the basic principles in understanding the form of an object. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shulakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitangs Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangs Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we've been going through the various elements and the senses that perceive the sense objects and how one evolves into the next through a process of subtle to gross. And now we've arrived at form, which is perceivable by vision. And as Prabhupada says here, every form that we appreciate has its particular dimensions and characteristics. And in the verse, it says there, the characteristics of form are understood by dimension, quality, and individuality. So by sight, you can determine the nature of something by how big it is, how much three-dimensional space it takes up, the quality, whether it's bright or dark or rough or shiny or dull, and individuality. The form of fire is appreciated by its effulgence. So that seems to be a separate thing. The word vritaya is there, and it's translated here as the characteristics. It's also similar to vritti, which is the means of livelihood of human beings. So that can also be seen as the characteristics of someone. The person has their individual tendencies towards activity. So that's a characteristic of someone's work, and a characteristic of an object, a physical object, is, as we've said, size and quality and individuality. So one of the features of God's creation is that all the physical objects that we see, material or spiritual worlds, they all have their individuality. No two snowflakes are alike, it is said. And where we live, there are plenty of those to do ample research, but I've not yet done that. And then he says here, the constitution of a certain object is appreciated by its internal action, the constitution. So sometimes people have mixed up salt and sugar, but they have very different actions. The form of salt has an internal component that you can only tell the difference by taste. Of course, I think sugar is a little bit more crystalline or catches the light differently. You can tell the difference most of the time. Srila Vishwanath also has something to say about this that's gives a little extra dimension to the verse. O Devahuti, he says there, the qualities of form are providing shape, allowing perception through qualities, and allowing perception of size. It is the tanmatra of fire. In the purport, he says, the qualities of form are described. It provides shape for objects. It is perceived by secondary aspects of the objects, qualities. And he says in his purport, sound is perceived independently. He doesn't expand on that at all, as Prabhupada doesn't in his purport. Perception of an invisible substance by touch also shows independence. So, like, yeah, sound operates independently because you can't see it. It operates through vibration. The ear picks it up. The auditory nerve sends it to the brain, and you can perceive that there is, in fact, sound. It's something. It's there. It's present. It's not a. You can't see it. You can hear it. It has an internal quality, and it has an internal effect on the perceiver. It allows perception of an object's size. Now we're back to talking about form. It is the tanmatra of fire. These are its qualities. The tanmatras are, I would have to go back and restudy what the tanmatras are, but they're like the sense perceptions. They're the media through which the senses perceive objects. And form is, you need light in order to see something, is my understanding. Yes, Maharaj says tanmatra is equivalent to sense objects. Saraswati Mata says in the chat, pranams to all, I don't understand how invisible forms can be understood by touch. Also, it is stated that the quality of form is appreciated by how useful it can be. And is that usefulness pertaining to usefulness to the Lord? Let's go back and look at what he actually says here, because I had something that I thought on that. Utility, he says there. Let's go, where is it? Yes, the quality of a particular object is appreciated by its utility, what it can do, what it does, what its use is. My understanding is that that's Prabhupada expanding on the word vritti or vritaya, characteristics, not necessarily usefulness, as you say, but what is its actual use? And Tulsi Priya has a comment about invisible forms being understood by touch. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, all glories to the assembled devotees. I was just thinking about that, and I was trying to work it out, and then it occurred to me, an example of invisible form is sound. Another example is smell. And well, how does sound work? How does it enter the ear? Well, you have the little hairs inside the ear. You have the drum, the ear drum, which is literally struck by the sound waves. So that it's a sort of touch going on. It's not that all touch is with your fingers. Similarly, with the nose, you have the little hairs in the nose, and they get stimulated, and that goes through the olfactory nerves to the brain. So, I don't know if that's pushing the idea too much, but there is definitely touch going on in the workings of those two senses.
Sure. And also it occurs to me now that when you hear a symphony, for example, something happens inside your powers of perception that, there is a substance going into your ears, and then there's this whole orchestra playing. There's this, musical construction. It's something you can see, but it is something. Tulsi Priya, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, I am trying to get clarity on this sentence. The constitution of a certain object is appreciated by its internal action. So I know I think it's in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada talks about, like the dharma, it's like the inherent quality of something. So the inherent quality of sugar is its sweetness, the inherent quality of fire is light and heat. So is that what they're talking about? Is that's what's being talked about here with the constitution of, because when you say internal action, well, the sweetness of sugar isn't known. It's not manifest until you taste it. So you have to take it into your body. There's an internal action inside your body to perceive the sweetness. But also, is it an internal, is it the internal action or the inherent quality? In other words, I'm wondering where the internal applies when it says internal action. Does it happen in the perceiver, or is it inherent in the thing itself?
Maharaj says to Tulsi Priya, gunata. Gunata here is quality. So yes, it has its quality, and the quality is perceived once the perceiver perceives it. But in and of itself, you know, if sugar is just lying there and nobody tastes it, is it sweet?
Yes, it's just we don't know it's sweet because we haven't tasted it.
Right. So the quality is there, and then an additional step is you thinking, oh, it's sweet.
I had a
Yeah.
follow-up on that, but it flew from my head. So if I think of it later, I'll bring it up.
Okay. Priyanka Mataji says, maybe through shape, sometimes might be difficult when salt and sugar are powdered. They get confused between sometimes. So taste along with qualitative constitution are the basic principles in understanding the form of an object, as Srila Prabhupada says at the end of the purport. Yeah, when you powder things, then it's makes it a little tougher. Maharaj says, regarding utility, he says, Rasaraj Das at the Bhaktivedanta Institute has developed that concept. And he will go on to say you have a block of camphor. You can describe it in terms of its color, its weight, its chemistry, its shape, and so on. But another way is by its utility. The block of camphor might be something to keep the moths away. Or it might be something to help cure your cold. Or it might be a paperweight if you put papers under it. So looking at the physical characteristics of something is not the only way to understand that thing. You can also see it in terms of its utility, the purpose for which it is being used. This has implications in quantum theory. which is why Rasaraj discusses it, which I can't. Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, and camphor also has another quality when you can set it on fire and it creates a kind of smoke and fragrance and all that.
Roji, I just wanted to ask a follow-up question on what Tulsi Priya Mataji was saying.
Yes.
So suppose any characteristic or any object can be differently perceived by different individuals. For example, if there is sound, few may consider it too loud and others may consider it too low based on their own sanskaras and perceptions. So Mataji was talking about internal processes. So our consciousness or our sanskaras, they also define the characteristic of sound or any entity for that matter. That also holds true.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Maharaj says, I don't know whether it defines the characteristics of the object. It certainly affects how we perceive the object. But that's a separate matter.
I had a question about that. I'm not sure if I'm understanding something.
Mm-hmm.
Maharaj's example of the camphor, yes, it has so many different qualities and it can be used in so many different ways, but people don't really use camphor as a paperweight or they don't throw it around like a ball in a sport or something like that. It has specific uses. So I'm guessing that human beings, we recognize those uses. We're not just imposing a use on it, that there's a purpose for camphor. It has its dharma, which is, perhaps to keep moths away. It basically it's aroma. That's what does the work. That's what does the actual work of camphor. So I know interestingly in things like that have aromas, they talk about it, in old ancient perfumery, they talk about like the soul of a substance, its perfume is like the spirit of the substance. So I'm guessing there are, we could look at it in other ways, going back to Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada talks about certain things have inherent qualities and it's like their dharma. So the dharma of camphor is its scent. And that scent, that's how it functions in the world. Even though it has so many other qualities that we can perceive it. I'm not sure if I'm understanding that correctly, but that's how I'm seeing it, based on his different descriptions of how you can perceive camphor. But really, there's really only one real use for camphor, and that's its aroma.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh. Maharaj says, take a keychain then. It's something to keep your keys on. But it could be a paperweight. And at a certain time in ISKCON, leaders used it as a sign of status. Your importance could be seen by how many keys you had. So the keychain has various kinds of utility. Yes. Is that helpful, Tulsi Priya? Does that address what you're
Yes.
discussing?
I'm just thinking, though, somebody could cheat and put a bunch of keys on a key ring to give themselves status, but it's useless.
Sure, anybody can cheat. And Maharaj says, no, that's a use. Yes. Oh. Hmm. Hmm. Maharaj goes on to say, a car motor could be something that helps the car go, or it could be a museum object.
Prabhuji, I would just like to do a follow-up question on what uh, Mara said earlier, that um, so whether it defines the characteristics of the object, it certainly affects how we perceive the object, but that's a separate matter. So I was just thinking that the set of characteristics of any object that we define is nothing but the bunch of perceptions different people have had about it. For example, this motor car we're talking about, someone sees it as a machinery which helps run the car. Other person sees it as an object for museum. So it is just the set of utilities of an object is nothing but a set of different perceptions that different individuals have had about it. And the perfect usage can be by someone who has had Vadush Pratyaksha, who is liberated soul. He can tell us the exact use of an object. So isn't the set of utilities just set of perceptions different people have had about it? Because if there is no one to observe it, uh, we will never come about it. We will never come out with different set of usage or utilities. So it's just set of perceptions. Utility is nothing but just set of perceptions about it.
Maharaj is composing a reply to you, Sucharu Prabhu. He says, first of all, it's not that an object's qualities depend entirely on our perception. At least the way the Bhagavatam describes things. The objects have their own qualities. The objects have their own qualities, but utility is an interesting matter. But going back to the text, gunata. Objects have particular qualities. And it's in terms of those qualities that they have utility. Which, yes, depends on our perception. The utility may be there, though, even if we don't perceive it. Fire can cook, even if we don't know that. The quality is inherent. In other words, reality is more than subjective. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Suchara Prabhu says, thank you very much, Maharaj. Yes, thank you. In the chat here, going back just a little bit, Tulsi Priya says, but the use of a key ring as a status object only has meaning because the keys represent control over resources. If your keys are just decoys, you don't have control over resources. You are pretending to. Resources represent power and wealth. Same with a car engine. Even if you admire it from a design perspective, as a work of art in a museum, its design serves an actual purpose. Maharaj says, even a false check has utility. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. It's so right.
Yes, the point is simple, he says. Yes. Jai. Saraswati Mata, please go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I was quite struck with this sentence, the quality of a particular object is appreciated by its utility. And I wanted to kind of expand a little bit on that in terms of a very important lesson that I learned when I was very young. While I was on holiday at my Nana's house, and I was kind of just sitting around not doing very much because usually my mother had us doing chores from, you could almost say, from dawn to dusk. We were so weary and tired of the chores that she had us do. But I thought, well, since I'm on vacation, I don't particularly have to do very much. And so I was severely chastised by my mother for not really being very useful. And then, so I was saying, well, I'm the granddaughter, so, that based on that relationship, that would be all right if I took some time off from being useful. So then, while my Nana was overhearing this conversation, she said, oh, that's like saying I'm part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, just based on that relationship, it's all right if I am not serving him. Krishna can still appreciate me just because I happen to be a part and parcel of him. So she said that's very foolish. What is appreciated is the service and the quality of the service that you are doing. That's what's appreciated. So not on some relationship. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes, it's another whole world of meaning on the word utility. How we can be utilized in Krishna's service. So we're on text number 40. Oh, Maharaj says, individuality is interesting. Yes, I thought it was interesting too. Sangstatvam. Maharaj says things have sangsta. Standing, we might say. Mm, mm, mm. Right. Sang plus sta. I tried to find that term elsewhere in our literature and could not, at least the way it appears here. Vyakti sangstatvam. Maharaj says something that has form has individual existence. Okay, just going back, he says something that has form has individual existence. Air doesn't. Ether doesn't. We have to come to a certain level of substantiality. So that's present in form. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. All right. Oh, Tulsi Priya says, maybe this is in response to Saraswati Mata's comment. Oh, Maharaj, before we get to that, Maharaj is continuing to say, and moving on, fire has fieriness. Mhm. Tejas has tejastva. Yeah, the suffix tva is like the English suffix ness. End of comment. Jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Going back now. Okay, just trying to go back here. Tulsi Priya is saying, oh, okay. But people appreciate infants. What service do they perform? We appreciate friends and loved ones when they are not serving, when they're sick or disabled, just because they are ours. That's what I was thinking of when Saraswati told her anecdote. Okay. And now we're going down. Okay. Saraswati Mata says to Tulsi Priya, an infant's babbling and smile, etc., serves us by bringing joy, and disabled people's past service and opportunity to serve them brings us joy too, if we have close relationships. So more shades of meaning on the word utility. Gurudas Prabhu says, one might wonder, let me just finish Gurudas Prabhu's, one might wonder if an object's individuality ever got in the way of its utility. Perhaps in the kitchen one has different kinds of sugar, cane sugar, beet sugar, molasses, etc., each with its own properties. Not all of them are useful in making a certain prep. Okay. The individuality getting in the way, that's another interesting shade of, yeah. Good. And Maharaj says to Tulsi Priya, yes, but that's far afield from utility in this verse. All right. Okay. So let's move on, shall we? Can we do that to text number 40? And let's see whose turn might it be to read. Tulsi Priya, would you like to read text 40?
Yes, I can read that. Hold on. Okay. Text 40. Dyotanam pachanam panam adanam himamardanam tejasavrittayastveta shoshanam kshutrid evacha Translation. Fire is appreciated by its light and by its ability to cook, to digest, to destroy cold, to evaporate, and to give rise to hunger, thirst, eating, and drinking. Purport. The first symptoms of fire are distribution of light and heat, and the existence of fire is also perceived in the stomach. Without fire, we cannot digest what we eat. Without digestion, there is no hunger and thirst or power to eat and drink. When there is insufficient hunger and thirst, it is understood that there is a shortage of fire within the stomach, and the Ayurvedic treatment is performed in connection with the fire element, Agni Mandyam. Since fire is increased by the secretion of bile, the treatment is to increase bile secretion. The Ayurvedic treatment thus corroborates the statements in Srimad Bhagavatam. The characteristic of fire in subduing the influence of cold is known to everyone. Severe cold can always be counteracted by fire. So I don't have, I mean, there's not much to say about this. This is pretty well known. One question I had though, severe cold can always be counteracted by fire. I don't remember the pastime very well, but there's that pastime where there's the battle between the Shiva Dwar and the Vishnu Dwar. And the Vishnu Dwar was severe cold, was it not? And the Shiva Dwar was fire. Is that correct?
That's right.
But the cold defeated the fire. And that was always something that was confusing to me because I always thought fire, as said here in the purport, severe cold can always be counteracted by fire. And that just seems to be the experience in the material world. So I was always confused by that pastime, which I admit I remember very poorly. But I was wondering if maybe Maharaj had any comment on that, or someone else who knows the pastime better than I. The only thing I can think about that pastime is that severe cold is, my understanding is that it's the absence of heat. It doesn't exist in and of itself. It's like subtractive. So you can take away heat, and the more you take away heat, the colder it gets. But maybe in the material sense, cold is a substance, you know, I don't know. I'm babbling now. I better not go any farther.
Maharaj says, Srila Prabhupada mentions that at death, one may have fever, but when cold completely takes over, death takes place.
Mm.
All right, Krishna.
I had a question regarding the purport that Srila Prabhupada gave here. So there is the fire of digestion and the fire that burns or gives heat. But we know that the fire of stomach is actually allegorical, but not, it doesn't exist in real as fire we see outside in physical world. So giving like, putting both of them in same categories, it establishes point like the fire in the stomach is literal like we see outside. And so is this correct? Because the Jataragni we see is not a fire in the sense that we see around us.
But its effects are the same.
Yes, like Maharaj says here in the chat to Sucharudeva Prabhu, it depends how you define fire. He says in the Bhagavatam definition, the fire within is also fire. It gives heat. It cooks. It gives rise to hunger and so on. Tulsi Priya says, if you belch up bile, your throat gets burned. Yes, Mother Saraswati says the same thing. Maharaj continues, heating and cooking are characteristics of fire. Not that a fire has to be the kind we're used to seeing. Though not mentioned here, Maharaj goes on to say, I can think of various chemical reactions in which there's fire, even though we don't see it. The reactions make something hot. Similarly, electricity. It can make a wire hot. In relation to Ayurveda, he goes on to say, I've found it interesting that the late Vaidya Mishra sometimes Giriraj Swami's Vaidya, categorizes the emissions from digital devices as fire. Vaidya Mishra told a story. He was seeing an unusual pulse in his patients in the West. He asked his Vaidya father about it. His father said, oh, we see that pulse, we see that pulse when someone's home is hit by lightning. So Vaidya Mishra said that all our digital devices are emitting Agni, and that Agni is affecting us. He therefore advocates minimizing their use and turning them all off at night. Thank you, Maharaj. Saraswati Mata asks, is it radiation waves from the digital devices that act like fire? Yes, that's the idea, Maharaj says. Hare Krishna. Maharaj goes on to say, not that fire has to be the blazing fire we see. Suchari David Prabhu says, thank you, Maharaj. That was very thankful. Thank you so much. Yes, Saraswati Mata says, some people don't like food heated by microwaves. There's a hand up. Tulsi Priya, go ahead.
Oh, I was just remembering something also that, you know, it's we're told that in wood, sunlight is stored. The tree absorbs sun through the leaves and it stores that sunlight. And that's why, so basically this tree is storing fire. The tree by itself is not doing any fire, but all you have to do is rub sticks together and fire is produced. Because the tree, the body of the tree, the wood of the tree is fire in a different form.
Yep.
Or the same as coal. Coal is stored stored sun energy.
Yep. Hare Krishna. It is 7:57. It's time for kirtan. Maharaj says Sankhya provides a vast field for scientific research. Indeed. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's time for kirtan. Who would like to lead tonight's kirtan? Please, someone go right ahead and do so. If you have some inclination to lead kirtan, now is your chance.
I'll go.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajikacharya Ashtotar Sata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Brinda Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Tulsi Priya. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for attending and for all of your participation, making things very lively and interesting. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami and friends Ki Jai.
Amaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol.
Thank you again, everyone. Have
Thank
a
you,
great
Maharaj.
weekend.
Thank you, everybody.